This is a start for our checklist for best practices in online education trainings. The first category of all of our components of this checklist is course introduction and overview. And I want to share a little bit about some of the things that you may want to include in your online course that introduces the student and gives them a good expectation for what is to come for this class and how it's set up and so on. So that's sort of the plan that this particular video will cover. And then hopefully in the coming weeks, you'll be able to see a number of other resources that will get you going in the development or enhancement of your online classes. So as I said, this first one will cover course introduction and overview. And as you heard from the summer series that we did, there are a number of categories of material that can be included into an online course, and we have labeled them as essential, important, or preferred. So in the course introduction and overview section, you'll see two categories, just essential and important. And I want to cover and provide some examples of what some of those might look like. So in the essential section, you're going to notice a couple of these, actually most of them, are going to be covered in the college-wide syllabus template. So right here is that template, and most of the material that you are required to put into any of our syllabi is going to be covered in this template. And in addition to that, you can include that just in the syllabus, but it would also be valuable to include some of the information in other places in your online course. So you'll notice that it says a list of general course information, contact information, and a set of expectations for that response from the instructor. And there's a series of other things, and I'll go through them bit by bit, but you'll notice that in the college-wide syllabus, there are all of those components. So you'll include that there, but you can also include them, and here's an example, in a specific area within your course that might be of value to students. So they can easily access it if they don't have the syllabus handy. So right here on my course in the Fundamentals of Public Speaking class, you'll notice a professor information tab. So a good chunk of what you would find in this list of requirements and some valuable information is here in the professor information section as well as in the syllabus section. So I just kind of wanted to show you sort of how it'll look once we go through each of the components, how you might choose to go about creating something like this. So the first one on here, the question that you'll ask yourself is there a course syllabus that includes some of these basic materials? And again, you can include this also in a separate section in your course. So it's kind of doubled up and students have access to it in multiple areas. So the first one would be a list of general course information. Well, obviously you'll have the course description, prerequisites, course objectives, and so on based on our template. The same can be applied to various areas of your course. The next one would be your contact information and set expectations for response. Now, what does that mean? It means that you provide not only your contact information, but how you will respond and maybe even a general timeline for your response. And you can do whatever works for you. I would highly recommend considering limiting the timeline in which you do make response. Always be accessible to students, but remember that you are a person as well. And so being accessible from 9 a.m. to 8 a.m., so literally 23 hours of your life is not feasible. So if you want to give a set time period, I will respond to emails if they are sent before 5 p.m. on the weekdays or at some point within the weekend. Or you can say, I don't respond to emails on the weekend or phone calls or whatever it might be. So you just want to be very clear about how you will respond to messages. I do this via conversation and also through a course orientation, which I'll cover in just a second. But I say to my students, look, here's the phone number, here's the email. This is the way I would prefer you to contact me. First, try the email. And then if that isn't fast enough for you, if you really need a quick response, you can choose to text or call this phone number, and I will do my best to respond. That being said, I do have a family, and I won't be able to respond super fast in some situations. I usually say I will respond to any inquiry within 24 to 48 hours. So that gives me a little bit of leeway. Most of the time I'm going to respond much more quickly than that, but think about what policies you want to enact and go with that and make sure it's very clear in your class. The next one, 1C on here, is a list of college-wide course competencies, which, as all of you know, we have very much laid out clearly in our syllabus template. So just make sure that you have this listed in your syllabus. And if you are unsure of which components are to be put into your course, you may want to talk to your department chair or coordinator and see what this little map looks like for your particular course. The next one on here is a list of required materials and skills. Now here's the big part that you may find valuable. So I'm going to come out of this course here, and I have it in a student preview, but I'm going to come out and I want to show you a little bit about the orientation course. I know that many of you have heard of this before, the ORIE 101 course. There is a great little setup here under the Start Here tab. If you scroll down, there's some FAQs, some facts that students will hopefully find valuable. And that goes along with sort of what this is asking. Are there any technological requirements? Are there any particular skills, netiquette skills, that are to be expected? In addition to that, you have your standards. Are there any prerequisites or other requirements that you must have? Any technology that you must include? If you use, say, a tool that is provided through your publisher, you may want to place that in your syllabus as well as in your course page. So any required materials or skills that you believe your students will need. The other number and letter 1E is the course grading policies. Now a lot of folks do things very differently. As long as it's clear, then you should be golden. So saying things like, here are the point values for each type of subject matter. So we'll do about 10% or 100 points for discussion boards. We will do 20% or 200 points for recordings, or whatever it is that you're requiring. Written assignments are worth 60%, exams are worth 20%, or however you've broken it up. Just make sure that it's clear what those percentages or point values are, and then in that include maybe the general breakdown of the points specific to that course or percentages of each one for that particular class. 1F says expectations for student attendance and participation in the course. Again, we have this in our template. There's a standard option, but a lot of departments have requirements as to how we go about doing attendance in a class. So it just depends on what your particular area is requiring or asking for. The next one on the list is general campus policies, again available in the college-wide course template. And you can see that as you scroll through, there's a lot of resources available to include. And then finally, a list of student resources. Now you can put that both in your syllabus, but also, and I want to show you going back to a very specific concept-wise, a public speaking course which is specific to a particular subject. I have included what's called community and support, and that gives students a little bit of information and links to where they can go to find information. Oh, looks like I need to update some of those, but that would be a great resource for your students to be able to go through and see exactly how to get to certain categories. So you might want to throw in things like access to Scotty from the Success Center, things like the TAC, the TAC, material or contact information for your various divisional secretaries, or whatever it might be. Anything that you feel that the students might have value in is to link that, or to just give the basic information there. Another really good one to put into that section is the contact information for technical help for any kind of digital tool you use, whether that's through your publisher or something separate. It's great to have something included along those lines as well. And then those are all kind of the essential things, but in the important area, there's a couple other things that you may want to consider including to create a little bit more understanding and help that student to feel connected to the topic and to the course as a whole. Because I'm sure you know, an online course is much more difficult to feel connected to than a traditional face-to-face class. So number 2 on here is there a self-introduction by the instructor? So if we go back up to the professor information, you can do this in a number of ways through just typing up a list of information or some details, or you can do a recording or video. Any of that works. But I put my contact information here, as well as a picture of myself, a brief overview along with my lovely puppies that I have displayed very clearly here. But you can put however you feel whatever you feel is necessary for this section to help your students to feel close and understand kind of the terms and the way in which you approach the class that might be of value to them. The next one is there an orientation to the course? If I had to say there is any major area that makes things so much easier for students, it would be the course orientation or the course tour. You can kind of label it however you wish. In mine, I have it under the syllabus tab, and it is the first thing that they see. And all I've done is to do a screen capture just like this, where I'm talking about the course and walking through all the details. Then I upload it to YouTube and link it here. And you can embed it, or you can just put the link, or you can email the link, or whatever works for you. There's a lot of options, but I like to have it here just in reference. When a student says, I don't understand about this particular way the course is laid out, I ask, have you watched the orientation? And if they have not, then I say, please go do that, and then we'll talk again if you have any additional questions. So it's a great resource to have in order to refer students back to that. And then finally, is the course orientation or syllabus available before the class starts? So before the very beginning of the course. And oftentimes people ask, well, when do I open up my course? And it depends on whether you're comfortable with answering questions right away. So if you, say, have a class that starts on a Saturday, a lot of times people will open up the course 2 days before. Or if you don't want to do that and you're not ready, or you don't want to, you can open it up that day by 9 a.m. and be able to provide that information to the students. But sometimes it's pretty valuable to either open up the course 24 hours in advance, or to send out the syllabus and other details, say a link to the course orientation, in advance of that. Just in case it's not something that they feel they can handle, they may be able to make adjustments to their schedule if it is before the course begins. So that is the course introduction and overview. Hopefully it gives you a good starting place as to how to set up that very beginning part that students will see when they first begin their classes, their online classes. And with everything being so digital right now, and especially in our current circumstance, trying to be as clear-cut as possible is of great value to both you and our students. So hopefully this helps you out. And as always, if there's any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I will provide my contact information in this tool. Thank you guys so much.